In the world of high-stakes diplomacy, every single move is calculated. But what happens when the big move is to just walk away from the table before the game has even started? Today, we're going to break down a last-minute cancellation that completely upended a crucial meeting, and really, it revealed a bold and pretty controversial approach to international negotiation.
Okay, so picture this. You've got U.S. envoys, their bags are packed, they're about to fly to Pakistan for these really critical talks with Iranian officials. The whole point is to de-escalate some serious tension. Then, at the very last second, a message comes down. The trip is off, canceled. So the big question is, what happened?
All the pieces were in place for a really significant diplomatic moment, a potential step back from the brink. But then, with just one command from the president, the whole plan got scrapped, and it left allies and adversaries all asking the same thing.
And yeah, it really was that abrupt. The order came down just as the envoys were getting ready to leave. This wasn't some delay or a postponement. No, this was a full stop, which of course immediately makes you wonder, why pull the plug at the most critical moment?
The reason they gave for canceling wasn't wrapped up in that usual diplomatic doublespeak. It was blunt, it was direct, and it was all about a very practical question. Was this trip even worth the effort?
So the first piece of the official reason was almost shockingly simple. The flight was just too long. The president actually framed the decision as a practical one, saying he wasn't going to have his team make an 18-hour journey if he wasn't sure what would come of it.
But it wasn't just about the travel time. The real issue was this firm belief that the talks themselves would be completely pointless, that his officials would just, quote, sit around talking about nothing. It was basically a public announcement that, in his view, the meeting would be a total waste of time.
This social media post pretty much sums up the whole justification, right? It's framing this really complex international diplomacy through a kind of business lens. Was the potential return on investment worth the cost in time and energy? And the answer, very clearly, was no.
And this is where it gets really interesting. The cancellation wasn't just about dodging a long flight, it was a deliberate strategic move. The U.S. was basically hitting a reset button on the whole negotiation, putting the ball squarely in Iran's court.
So this is how the president saw the chessboard. On one side, you have the U.S., holding all the cards. On the other side, an Iranian government that he described as being in the state of infighting and confusion. This perception that the U.S. had all the leverage is absolutely key to understanding the ultimatum that came next.
And there it is, the ultimatum in black and white. This is the pivot. The message is just crystal clear. We're not traveling to you for talks. The whole traditional power dynamic gets flipped on its head, and now the pressure is 100% on Iran to make the first move.
So this strategy came with a very clear set of conditions. The terms were simple. First, Iran has to be the one to pick up the phone. Second, the line is always open for them. They can call whenever. And third, the non-negotiable goal of any conversation is clear. Iran cannot have nuclear weapons. Period.
All right, so after a move that bold, the immediate question is about the fallout. Canceling diplomacy is always a bit of a gamble. So, what were the consequences of taking this particular risk?
And yeah, this is the most serious question of all. When talks break down this suddenly, it's pretty natural to worry that it might be a step towards conflict. So of course the press asked this question directly.
The answer was just as direct as the cancellation itself. When he was asked if this meant we were on a path to war, the president's response was a very clear no. He framed the whole thing not as an escalation, but as a hardline negotiation tactic.
So what's the big takeaway here? We've just walked through a case study in a highly unconventional, high-pressure diplomatic strategy. It pretty much throws the old playbook right out the window. Instead, you get public ultimatums and a purely transactional framework, which leaves us with a really critical question. Is this kind of disruptive approach an effective new model for making deals on the world stage? Or is it just a high-risk gamble that's bound to backfire? That's the real issue to think about.